That's right, I have no use for these type of implements anymore. That's why we're going to spend today talking about these. Maybe you're thinking, brushes, that is so old school. What do I need to know about those for? I play pop music, I play contemporary music, I'm a rap drummer, I'm a rock drummer. Well, let's see if we can figure out together why you need to expand your skills just a little. So if you dig into any pro stick bag, you're going to find some implements that are not sticks. You'll find a variety of different mallets, and you should find some brush type implements. Wire brushes have been around forever, since, the swing era. It wasn't Baby Dodds. Sid Catlett, I think, was the guy who started to kind of invent or at least popularize the brushes. But they've been around a long time. Now we have, plastic or fiber brushes. We have Blastics or Blastic type soft sticks. They all have different purposes. So we're going to go through that real quick today and then talk about basic brush technique, because that's really what I want to focus on. Something that a lot of younger players might be missing. Okay, there are different types of brush type implements. These are generically known as Blastics or bundles. I think it was Willie Nelson's drummer who came up with an idea like this for like wooden dowel rods years ago for sort of a softer stick. And then Collado up here in Niagara Falls invented the Blastics, and ever since then, that goes back probably a couple decades now, they've been very popular. These are by Vetter, called the Whip. But they're all basically the same thing. They're a stiff fiber brush, often with a sort of an adjustable ring, so you can get more or less of a spread on the brush tip if you want to. They're not really meant for brush playing, though. They don't work that great for that. They're more for being like a soft stick. If you want to play in a unplugged situation, or let's say you're playing country where you might do a lot of train beats, or even blues bands where you might do train beats, right? Or you play in an Elvis or a 50s cover band and you might have to do some shuffles that are a little more quiet or laid back, right? But that's what these are basically used for. Also, I've used them to good effect over the years to play backbeat gigs where they really wanted a solid backbeat, kind of a rock sound, but they really didn't want any volume at all, which is almost impossible. And this was before the cajon became sort of more ubiquitous everywhere. But this is the way people would do it. And now you can actually see people playing cajon not only the traditional way, but with brushes as well. So these are fun to explore and have some uses. Of course, nowadays we have also modern plastic or fiber brushes. These actually are pretty old. You can see this one's shedding, losing pieces of the brush, because these are probably actually, if they're not from the 80s, they're from the early 90s. They've been around the block a little bit. So these are on their last legs, but I really like the sound of them, so I just kept them. But these are the traditional wire brush, and these are made by Regal Tip or Collado. And what's cool about brushes and traditional brush playing is it's like painting with rhythm. Not to make too much of a pun there, but whatever you do, with your hands on the surface of the drum, it creates a different sound. You have the tip of the brush, right? You have the flat side where most of your playing is. You have the edge where you can kind of bounce and get some, either sometimes on the edge here or right on the tip of the rubber sleeve. You can get like a little one-handed roll or rough out of it. So when you put those things together and play some patterns, the basic one that I use is the swish swish, or going one direction then the other around each other, like two kind of C shapes that never intersect, right? You can also play a circle with this one and just play the ride rhythm over here. Now this surface isn't very big, so it's not quite a snare drum that I'm used to, but I'll squeeze it in the shot here somewhere. And you can even do a crossover, right? So you're doing that circle a little more wider You can play some rhythm that way. So when you want to define the time a little more strongly, that's one way to do it. Otherwise, especially for ballads, just this kind of circular motion tends to be real good. Of course, you'd be checking high on at least 2 and 4, right? But it's definitely a different sound than sticks. I got to see Tony Williams play one time before he died, and I'm so glad I did. But he used these. He did things with brushes that I have never imagined doing with sticks. He was insanely great. But what you can do with these, besides playing quietly, are create more textural pictures. And depending on how emotional the music is, it just might not require sticks. Like I said, even if it's a backbeat thing. Think about what Russ Kunkel did in the 70s on all those, records that he played on. Carly Simon, James Taylor. A lot of that was brushwork. It was still backbeat stuff, but it was brushwork. Jazz, of course, is an essential part of your toolkit, as well as a bunch of other different types of music. Country, essential. And also nowadays, again, a lot of unplugged situations, and maybe you've picked up the cajon and that's something you can use, but there's times when you're going to want to play the drum kit and you're going to want to play it quieter, and nothing else will do. One of the ways that I got my brush playing together years ago was by being forced to. I was playing pretty regularly at a church, and they wanted drums. They insisted on having drums. But they didn't want me to use sticks. Nah, it's too loud. So I had to figure out to play all the things that I wanted to play with brushes. And in the interim, I kind of figured out that I liked that. And I was studying with Louis Marino at the time, and he gave me some things to do. And there's also a great book, if you can find it. There's a Philly Joe Jones book. No, I'm sorry, I think it was actually Papa Joe that put it out from Basie's band. But anyway, there is a Joe Jones book on brush playing that's really, really great. Out of print, but you might be able to find it online. Worth it. Clayton Cameron, a more modern exponent of the brushes, has done a book and is a great guy to watch. He plays amazingly. Jeff Hamilton, there's some great players out there. But give these a try.